Hey there gamers, welcome back to our channel, Marvelous Gamers, where we bring you the latest from the world of gaming. With the month of June just around the corner, we're super excited to dive into top 6 games set to release next month. From thrilling adventures to epic battles and mind-bending puzzles, this month has something in store for every kind of gamer out there. So without further ado, let's jump right into the video to explore the list of highly anticipated titles we can't wait to get our hands on. Street Fighter 6. Developed by Capcom, Street Fighter 6 is all set to release on June 2nd after the game was initially announced on February 21st, 2022. The game has 3 modes, namely Fighting Ground, Battle Hub, and World Tour. The Fighting Ground mode enables players to fight on a 2D gameplay style similar to the games of yesteryears and has both online and local versus battles, along with arcade and training modes, enabling players to fight using several special abilities and attacks to take their opponents down. The Battle Hub allows players to use customizable avatars to participate in avatar battles and play classic games in the game center. In comparison, the World Tour mode enables the players to use their avatars in a single-player story mode with RPG-like characteristics and has traits of action-adventure gameplay. Diablo 4. Developed and published by Blizzard Entertainment, Diablo 4 was announced at BlizzCon 2019 and is scheduled for release on June 6, 2023. The game takes place 30 years after the events of Diablo 3, where Lilith, the main antagonist of the game and daughter of Mephisto, is summoned by cultists. She goes on to establish her power in the Sanctuary after the forces of demons and angels have been exhausted. The angel Icarus and Lilith had created the realm of the Sanctuary before the events of the game to provide asylum for those who wanted to escape the everlasting conflict between the burning hells and the high heavens. This relationship between the angels and the demons led to the creation of a race known as the Nephilim, who are neither angels nor demons, but rather a distinct combination of the two, which also happens to be the race of the protagonist. The inhabitants of Sanctuary thought that the Nephilim would draw out the wrong kind of attention and tried destroying them. However, this enraged Lilith, and to save her children, she went on to destroy anyone who opposed her, resulting in her banishment to the void by Inarius. Aliens: Dark Descent. Being developed by Tyndallus Interactive in association with 20th Century Games and released by Focus Entertainment, Aliens: Dark Descent is a real-time strategy video game and is all set to release on June 20th. The game takes place in the moon base of Lethe 20 years after the events of Aliens 3, where a xenomorph outbreak needs to be contained by a group of colonial marines while collecting resources to fix their Otago spacecraft. In order to battle the xenomorphs and rogue agents of the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, players need to control the group of 4 Marines. Initially, the game has 5 classes of characters, each with different sets of abilities. Between each mission, the player can upgrade their characters while maintaining their physical as well as their mental health. Crash Team Rumble. Developed by Toys for Bob and released by Activision, Crash Team Rumble is a multiplayer video game all set to release on June 20th. It's the 3rd game in the Crash Bandicoot series in the party genre. The game is played in a 4 vs 4 format where the main objective of the game is to collect more Wumpa fruits than the opposing team and deposit them at the designated drop-off zone, while stopping the opposite team from depositing their collection at the drop-off zone. The characters, with their distinct skills and abilities, are divided into 3 categories: Booster, Scorer, and Blocker. Crash Bandicoot characters like Brio, Coco, Cortex, Crash, Dingodile, and Tawna are also playable in the game. Final Fantasy XVI. Developed by Square Enix, Final Fantasy XVI is set to release on June 22nd, which was confirmed at the Game Awards 2022. The game will feature an action-based combat system involving both magic-based abilities and melee attacks in the segmented open-world setting of Valisthea, a world that is split into 2 continents, Storm and Ash, which have an abundance of magic crystals which provide the population with an energy known as Aether. However, if overused, it leads to the petrification of the user. During a time of growing turmoil in Valisthea, 15-year-old Clive begins the game as Joshua's bodyguard. Joshua shares the power of the Phoenix with Clive, who isn't the Phoenix's dominant. After the duchy gets attacked, with horrifying destruction, the manifestation of the dark icon Ifrit takes place. Clive becomes the first shield of Rosaria, and to find a purpose for himself, he takes up the task of keeping Joshua safe. Clive is allowed to use part of the flame after being blessed by the Phoenix. He will then go down the path of revenge after the tragic incidents involving Ifrit and the Dark Acon. Grey Hill Incident. Developed and published by Refugium Games, Grey Hill Incident will be released on June 9th. Set in 1992, the game follows protagonist Ryan Baker as he navigates through an alien invasion in his neighborhood of Grey Hill with only a revolver with limited ammunition and a baseball bat. With the US government and media lying about the mysterious activities and making up stories about weather balloons, the residents of the area cannot trust anyone. After suspecting the government's involvement, they start preparing for what is to come all by themselves. The player has to guide Ryan as he risks his life running through the open ground to save a neighbor in need and get in touch with other people while looking for supplies and houses. Marvelous verdict. With so many amazing games coming out in the month of June, we can be assured that it's going to be one hell of a month. Which game are you excited to play the most? Do tell us in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it. And for more exciting videos, please subscribe to our channel.